So I'm Peter Boutsalis from the University of Adelaide and Plant Science Consulting, and the University of Adelaide part is doing research on various aspects of herbicide resistance and herbicides, and the Plant Science Consulting is more the commercial part, so doing a lot of resistance testing for farmers and also doing company trials, so where they establish different products and trying to get the best out of their products. Well, we're talking about glyphosate because glyphosate resistance is increasing. So we are seeing, through our GRDC random weed surveys, we are seeing about 3% resistance to glyphosate in ryegrass over the entire country. There's some hot pockets, and probably something around the Wimmera we're getting about 9% resistance. So when you can detect glyphosate resistance in a random weed survey, it's getting there. It's pretty important. So that's causing a lot of interest to try and get the best out of controlling these weeds. There are also some other weeds, like fleabane is another one that's sort of increasing. About 30% of the farmer samples coming in for commercial testing, and they're not always requesting glyphosate. They're not suspect glyphosate resistant, but about 30% of those from across the southern states are showing some levels of resistance to glyphosate at that sort of 1.5 litre rate. So it's pretty high. You'd think that using any glyphosate you'd get the same effect if you're using it the same grams active, but we found quite a significant level of difference between different products. And that's, so we can go from basically controlling weeds with low level resistance to leaving 20–30% behind with the same rate by just changing the formulation of product. So that is quite a significant finding. It's nothing new, but it's something to be aware of, and there are new products coming into the market all the time, and some of these have got some really improved surfactants which help the product get into the weeds a lot faster. It's usually the surfactant that's the key issue. It's not the salt doesn't really have a big impact on activity, but it has got some benefits with respect to mixability with other pesticides and other herbicides. In the last years, more and more crops are, glyphosate's been registered in those crops to control ryegrass at that to sterilise the seed. But what we're finding, both in trials done by Chris Presson and myself over the past few years, is that if a weed is glyphosate resistant, if a ryegrass is resistant to glyphosate, it's also resistant at that flowering stage. So if you're treating it with glyphosate, you're not going to kill that seed, you're not going to sterilise it. So in a paddock situation where you've got susceptible and resistant ryegrass, you'll sterilise the susceptibles, leave the resistant ones behind, and you can actually fast track resistance unknowingly. Yeah, so the aim of the double knock there is to, if you've got any individuals that are glyphosate resistant, to kill them with a paraquat. So that's the true nature of this glyphosate followed by paraquat double knock. And what we found is between 1 to 5 days, if you apply the paraquat, you can kill ryegrass that is glyphosate resistant also. If you leave it a bit longer, the glyphosate actually stresses out those resistant plants. They are resistant, but it doesn't mean they're invincible. They are still stressed. And we know generally that if a weed is resistant and it's stressed, then it doesn't take up herbicide, and that's what happens. So if you delay it even more and those weeds become stressed, they don't take up the paraquat as well, and they survive, because it's like putting a sublethal rate of paraquat, and then you start to increase the levels of resistance. So there are ways of optimizing that glyphosate efficacy. One is using higher grade formulation, like good products, but there are also other factors as well, and one is growth stage, so treating younger seedlings. Even if they're resistant, you can often kill them. Treating them under those moderate temperatures, so getting that in those 20s. If you're spraying weeds under those 20 degrees, 20 to 25, 30, you get much better control with glyphosate than if above 30 degrees. So temperature plays a major effect, and you also get the rate response as well. So if you increase the rate, you can get improved kill, and you can overcome some of those other environmental factors that you've got really no control over.